and terror to Australia was the wild colonial boy.
Ben Hall, Gilbert and O'Meally commenced bushranging in earnest at the closing months of 1862. By the beginning of 1863, the gang controlled the roads and tracks between Forbes, Orange, Bathurst, Goulburn, Gundagai, and all settlements in between, with an intimate knowledge of the surrounding country, outstanding bushcraft, superb horsemanship, and daring. They would perpetrate in the next 2.5 years over 600 armed hold-ups, robberies, attempted murders, and kidnappings, and were on many occasions made the police force and government look inept in pursuit of them. The core of the gang included Johnny Gilbert, 22 years old and a Canadian by birth, who immigrated to Australia with his parents in 1852. With girlish looks and happy comedic carefree disposition, always dressed flash, and was very popular with the girls. At times, he was known to dress disguised as a girl to evade a police capture. He had nerve and daring and was a brilliant horseman. Gilbert arrived in the Lachlan district from Kilmore, Victoria, and started his bushranging apprenticeship as Frank Gardiner's number 2. By the time Ben Hall joined him, he was a very experienced highwayman. In the early days, the gang was known as Gilbert's Gang, but through the newspapers and Ben Hall's local popularity, the gang was soon and forever referred to as Ben Hall's Gang. John O'Meally and Ben Hall had been friends since childhood. O'Meally was a native-born Australian, also 22 years old, from the Lachlan district. His father, an ex-convict, owned shanties and property in the Weddin Mountains, and was well known to police for criminal activities. O'Meally was wild. What he lacked in style he made up for in nerve and daring, and was quick-tempered and of a murderous nature. Others would come and go, but these three were the core of the gang. By the end of January 1863, they had conducted hold-ups around the goldfields of Lambing Flat, today known as the township of Young. Not only were the people travelling the roads at risk, but also the general storekeepers and publicans and station owners held up at will for rations, blankets, clothes, weapons, and cash, with revolvers pointed at their heads or fired to intimidate. They were forced to comply. A high priority was the need for weapons, and in February 1863, the company with Patsy Daly, Ben Hall, robbed the Pinnacle Police Station during the station keeper Mr. Knox's absence. As Ben Hall and Daly rode away with rifles, clothes, blankets, and ammunition, they were spotted by police trooper Hollister, an American by birth who grew up in Connecticut. Returning to the station with the track of Billy Dargin, an Aboriginal man of immense skill and bravery, who was at the forefront of the hunt for the bushrangers. There was the thought that Hall and Dargin knew each other, but this is untrue. Ben Hall knew him only as a great tracker and bushman. On seeing the bushrangers Hollister give chase, after a mile at full gallop, Hollister's horse falls, sending him crashing to the ground. Patsy Daly then turns and attempts to shoot Dargin. As shots are fired, the two bushrangers escape to the surrounding scrub. Ben Hall, Gilbert and O'Meally, heavily armed and riding thoroughbred horses, are now committing daily highway robberies between Young and Forbes. For the next few months, without any fear of apprehension from police, they openly called in at towns, homesteads and hotels, entertaining people of their exploits and shouting drinks. Before long, and after a short chase by mounted troopers, Patsy Daly was captured in an old mine shaft by Inspector Pottinger. Tried for robbery under arms, he was sentenced to 15 years' jail. July 13, 1863. Gilbert and O'Meally rode into Carcoar Township and hitched their horses outside the commercial bank and entered. O'Meally presented a fake cheque to the teller. Then they quickly drew their revolvers and demanded the cash. At this moment, the manager walked in, seeing the hold-up, quickly fled, yelling the alarm. The teller bravely dropped to the floor, grabbed a pistol and fired. Hearing the shot, townspeople came running, and the two bushrangers retreated to their mounts and galloped out of the town, rejoining Hall. They then rode to Mr. Hosey's store at Coloola and robbed him of £300 in cash and goods, then melted into the bush. The attempted bank hold-up, the first of this kind, sent a shiver through the district and state. Now people were arming themselves against the raiders.
A terror to Australia was the wild colonial boy. One morning on the prairie wilds, a Jackie rode along, and listening to the mockingbird and singing.